Every Halloween, the small town of Greystone was cloaked in a veil of unease. Some said it was the old cornfield at the edge of town, the one where no crops ever grew quite right. Its tall stalks were dry and twisted, with an eerie rustle even, when the air was still. The locals claimed they could hear whispers if they walked by on a windless night. Fiona didn't believe in ghost stories. At 17, she prided herself on being too logical for small-town nonsense. So, when her younger brother dared her to go into the cornfield on Halloween night, she accepted without hesitation. "I'll prove it's just a field," she said, grabbing her flashlight. The full moon hung heavy in the sky as she stepped through the brittle stalks. The dry leaves crunched beneath her boots, and the rustling of the corn seemed louder than it should have been. Fiona clicked on her flashlight, its beam cutting a narrow path through the dark. The whispers started softly. At first, she thought, it was just the sound of leaves brushing against each other. But soon the murmurs grew distinct. Words. Faint, unintelligible words. She stopped. "Hello?" she called out, trying to keep her voice steady. No answer. The whispers grew louder. They didn't come from one direction, but from all around her. She spun in a slow circle, her flashlight sweeping the field. "If this is some kind of prank, it's not funny," she yelled. Then she saw them, shadows moving between the stalks. They weren't solid, but more like smudges of darkness that seemed to ripple in and out of existence. Her heart raced as the whispers turned into a cacophony, voices overlapping, in a sinister chant. She walks the path. She chose the path. Fiona bolted, pushing through the sharp leaves that scratched her arms and face. She ran faster and faster, but the field seemed endless. The voices didn't fade. They grew louder, closer. Finally, she stumbled into a clearing at the center of the cornfield. In the moonlight, she saw something that made her stomach drop. A circle of weathered scarecrows, their faces carved with twisted expressions. They were old and rotten, their straw limbs bent as though they had been frozen mid-motion. One of them moved. Its head jerked toward her with a sickening creak, and its button eyes glinted in the moonlight. The whispers stopped. Silence enveloped. The field, so deep it pressed against her ears. Then the scarecrow grinned, its burlap mouth stretching unnaturally wide. "You walk the path. You chose the path." Before Fiona could scream, the scarecrows closed in. The last thing she saw was their straw-stuffed hands reaching for her, dragging her down into the dry, cracked soil. The next morning, Fiona's brother and the rest of the search party found her flashlight just outside the cornfield. The batteries were drained, and the lens was cracked. Of Fiona, there was no trace, but that Halloween, the townsfolk swore they heard her voice among the whispers, in the cornfield, calling for help.